The Wizard of Oz came about through a conversation between myself and David Berthold. It started with us discussing how the Danger Ensemble could work with LeBoit on a new production. And LeBoit and the Danger Ensemble have a history of working together, but we have quite different styles and different methodologies of working. So we were discussing ways where that could be mutually beneficial for both companies artistically and commercially. And we started discussing the possibility of a challenge of David offering the Danger Ensemble a work that we wouldn't normally do. And we went through a few options, and the one that I remember getting a text message from David, I think late afternoon, just saying The Wizard of Oz, ? And I immediately freaked out and went, I have no idea what I would do with The Wizard of Oz. And all of the other works that he'd suggested, I could kind of see how it would work, and I had a way in straight away. And I think that fear regarding The Wizard of Oz was the thing that made me go, yeah, that's the one we should do, because I have no idea where we'll start. I have no idea what this work means to our company or how our philosophy relates to a work like this, to what was essentially a children's classic that is no longer in our hands a children's classic. It's hard to say when we're still in rehearsals and things are moving so much as to what people should expect, but it's certainly not the musical, it's certainly not the children's novel. For one thing, our central character is an older woman whose name is Judy G, and it's actually her that wants to get over the rainbow and her that wants to travel down the yellow brick road to get to Oz. Her investment in Oz and her investment in the world of Oz and the character Oz and the Emerald City is very different to Dorothy's. She encounters Dorothy along the way. She wants to be Dorothy, but she isn't. And it's her journey through that and what she wants at the end of the rainbow that what it's really about, and that is deeply connected to The Wizard of Oz and is completely embedded in what that story is about, but it's very different to The Wizard of Oz we know. I think The Wizard of Oz became iconic in culture really early on. The world at the time was a really different place to what it is now. We'd just come out of the First World War and just out of a Great Depression in the United States, and I think The Wizard of Oz offered an idea of escapism, an idea of fantasy far away from the real world. I think that's how it got embedded, and that's how it was so strong initially. I think the ideas of success and fame and beauty and the Hollywood lifestyle, and Judy Garland got swept up in that story over the years as well, and it's become something else. I don't think people can think of The Wizard of Oz without thinking of Judy Garland. Even people that love the books, they still see Dorothy as Judy Garland. I think that's how it got embedded in culture. I think it's evolved though. I think our culture has evolved, and it means something else now. I think for a lot of people it's about nostalgia. It's about that feeling you get as a child when you first discover Technicolor, when you first discover this beautiful, fantastical, glittery world. I think that's why it resonates so strongly with the queer community too, that there's this idea of a fantastical life, that you can go over the rainbow and everything will be colourful and great. When you look closer at the story, that's not actually what it's about. This girl that goes over the rainbow to this wonderful, fantastical world chooses to go home at the end. She chooses, despite all the colour and all the happiness and all the success she has in this other world, she decides to go back home. And the line from the novel and the film is, I think it's just the novel, is despite the greyness, people would still rather live in their homes. And I think that part of the nostalgia and part of the childhood side of that is we omit that from our memory of it. We omit that she goes back home, and we omit that she chooses a less wonderful life in the end. Yeah, working with Thomas Larkin and Margie Brownash has been great, particularly for our learning. All of us as artists, I think, we as the Danger Ensemble have a shared language and almost a shorthand, and having to invite people and wanting to invite people into that process has been, I think, mutually challenging. I think there have been times where it's been really confronting for all of us, and trying to explain things to people that have just become habit and innate to the way I work and the way some of us work together has been really educational in terms of our artist practice. Thomas Larkin in particular, he's come from a background of psychological realism in the majority of his acting, and I work really far away from that, and I think trying to find a way in for him to my world has been really interesting. I don't think it's been easy, and I think that's a good thing. Margie has a practice that is, I think, similar to mine, but very much her own. So I think she does a lot of the translating for me. I'll say something and she'll take it in and then flip it to make sense to her. And most of the time that works, and sometimes that's a mystery puzzle, as is Margie in general. I think why the work is exciting for Brisbane at this time, particularly as a part of Brisbane Festival, is we have, well, for one thing, we have Brisbane Festival of Light and the Danger Ensemble co-producing a work with the support of people like Norpa and the Judith Wright Centre. It's a big undertaking. Power Arts are involved too. And bringing that many forces together, there's a big sense of power behind it. But it's also really exciting to have a local company doing a major production in Brisbane Festival, and that we're doing a work that is unlike most main stage works here at Le Boite, and we're marrying quite a different and alternate aesthetic and approach into a more main stage space. And I think that's exciting for Brisbane audiences. I think Brisbane's excited to see something different and try something new and go and see The Wizard of Oz that isn't Judy Garland and isn't nice and happy and all over the rainbow on a yellow brick road. I think Brisbane wants that. Every time I run into people on the street that talk about the work, they're excited about seeing something different and seeing something new, and that's great, and that's what we're excited about delivering.